Alright, so MonsterVerze was deleted off of Roblox last night for, quote, violating their terms of service, and we have some updates as to why this may be, and some criticisms from the community in regards to certain aspects of the game that they believe may have triggered this, and stuff that they think needs to be changed. Now, as you guys can see, new VTuber model, I don't really think anybody cares, but this is just my OC. I've been waiting for this model to be done, and so the other model was just a placeholder, but I love them both. Anyways, getting straight into it. So I made a video yesterday talking about how MonsterVerze, a highly anticipated Roblox game that was set to release this weekend, was removed off of Roblox. And initially when they made their statement, the creators said that they thought it was because so many people were joining the countdown. Now I got some confusion. The countdown and the game, I believe, are connected in some capacity. It's like when you set it for a Roblox event, it's directly connected to the game. And so when the countdown got taken down, the game was taken down, or vice versa, whatever. When you go onto Roblox now though, there is a MonsterVerze game. This MonsterVerze game is not the real MonsterVerze game. It's a game made by some random person, and they just stole a banner or thumbnail or whatever from the game. So keep that in mind. This game is not the real game, and the owner of the game confirmed that on Twitter. So don't fall for it. Don't get this game random thumbs up because you think it's the real one. Anyways, they had initially anticipated that the game would be restored within about an hour, a couple minutes, but it's since been almost a full day, which is obviously incredibly stressful for a dev team that has worked so hard in their game for so long, and the game has still not been restored. Now, important to note that they did actually go ahead and put an announcement at around lunchtime today regarding the game, and I'm going to read that to you guys and just kind of interject at some points to talk about some stuff. But it reads, "Hello everyone, I might delete this later, but I just want to do a small vent about something that this dev team and multiple other Roblox content creators have been suffering lately. Recently, I got an email from Roblox that one of our content was taken down for, quote, sexual content. Not that this is confirmed reasoning why the game got taken down, but this is something so reoccurring not only for MonsterVerze, but for multiple other Roblox games and creators that solely represent the woman body and content related to womanhood. This is truly tiring and has been a big challenge for us. Roblox keeps censoring anything related to women's physiognomy, I think I say that, it's a big word, tagging it as, quote, sexual content. When there's multiple games and sources of media that represent the masculine body which I will agree with this, I think it's very much a double standard. Why can't there be oily six packs basically showing a shirtless guy in the marketplace that don't get taken down, but as soon as I have a tiny bit of under bust shading, they're like, oh, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of insane. And I remember like when I think everybody had the phase where they tried to use like, what is it, custom use or something to like make Roblox clothes. And I was like, I'm gonna be a Roblox clothing designer. And I added just the faintest shadow just to like, you know, because womanhood, and immediately taken down. And my account was disabled for like a week. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can't have anything. That's nice. So I do agree with them on that. I think it's definitely a double standard and it's really unfair. They go on to say, I wonder why this misogyny and terrible treatment of women and their bodies will stop on in this platform. We can't represent bodies because they will be flagged for having big chests, big butts, small waists, or anything like that. It is always a challenge to simply add something that represents approximately 4 billion people, 4 billion women with different bodies, identities, personalities, lives, and stories. I'm sorry for the big rant, but I just can't stand the fact that women can't be who they are with their own bodies in a platform that promotes, quote, creativity, quote, freedom, and, quote, dare to be yourself, end quote. This is also one of the reasons why the game needed some setbacks. The plus-size female body base was a huge struggle to import, and at some point we did it, but her underwear was deleted by Roblox, so it was another pain to get those in. It is truly tiring having to go back and forth. It just wastes time in something that we don't have control on. Roblox moderation needs to do something about this constant issue. And then they clarify at the bottom saying, that does not mean that bodies are getting removed. We will keep you all updated if anything changes related to the game. Game happened because of Roblox moderation. So I'm hoping that the release date hasn't been pushed back, but it doesn't look like they've addressed that. Maybe I missed it, I don't know. But regardless, that's the statement they put out today. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm very curious, what was the clothing asset or whatever asset that got them the warning and then subsequently their game was banned shortly after? They do confirm here that they're not sure if it was the clothing item that prompted the whole game to be taken down, or if it was just the clothing item getting taken down and then the game getting taken down was a separate offense. But there is some, rhetoric and just discussion within community members, specifically on Reddit regarding some wording that was on the Discord server that a lot of people are pointing fingers at, saying that might be the reason. And I actually got 5 separate tickets about this, starting on October 14th, and I didn't know a lot about the situation, so I honestly just didn't really ask this person too much about it because I was confused because I couldn't find it. But basically, I was reached out to by somebody on October 14th, so credits to them. I'm going to keep them anonymous though. And they sent me this screenshot, which is from the official Girl Dom server, which is their server for the game. And there's a section where they talk about what they stand for and the game's identity. And in this section, they had a little thing that said, our server is a sanctuary for those exploring feminization, sissy culture, and related kinks in a judgment-free zone. We accept everyone who they are, as we want everyone to be accepted and treated like human beings, and that's who we are. And obviously, there's two words in there that really stuck out to a lot of people, and those two words were kinks and sissy, which I might have to censor them in this video. I probably will, like, take like the first chunk off, because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. But those words, not to be a devil's advocate, but they have multiple meanings. Now, to be fair, when I first saw those words, I only thought of probably the same meaning you did, which is the generic, typical meaning of what those words mean. Now, this person shared screenshots of how they reached out to moderation, which I feel like is the appropriate thing to do. And they said, hi, I'm just questioning why you would use these words in a dress-up game. And the moderator or someone in the server says, yes, absolutely. Sissy culture is a term for many queer individuals. It is not inherently a bad term. Kink also just means uniqueness. The server thrives off unique, queer, and non-conforming individuals. It is not meant to be taken any other way. And so I understand that's what they meant. And they went back and forth a little bit, exchanging definitions. And then at the end, another person who was in this conversation says, in terms of moderation, we have had no one take this word in a different context. I will say, you aren't the first person to point out this concern in wording, and we'll take this feedback into consideration. I'm kind of confused what this means. It says, in terms of moderation, we have seen no one take this word in a different context. So they're saying that nobody has assumed that kink meant what most people probably think it means. But then they say that this person isn't the first person to point out a concern with wording. So I guess maybe it was different wording in the game that people were concerned with, but regardless, this was obviously a concern, and this was basically talked about quite a bit on Reddit. It was the main point of contention in a lot of the Reddit threads that I viewed and was sent, and the game looks like it has changed it. So I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse and be like, oh my god, you did this. At the end of the day, I understand those words have multiple meanings, but the concern from this person and from lots of other people that I spoke to was that if you search these words up and just search the word, no context, no anything, just search the blank word, and if someone didn't know what it meant, they just searched it up, what this person is claiming in this ticket is saying that it comes up with inappropriate content, which I'm obviously not going to search that stuff up because I don't want that on my computer. But regardless, I do understand there are multiple meanings to these words. Now, to be fair, I know that kinks can be used as like another word for, uniqueness. Like that's like a term we actually use quite frequently where I live. That's like a pretty normal word for us to use. So I can understand, the duality of it, where some people, for them, it's normalized to use these words, and other people it may not be. Maybe people who don't have as much, it's not just necessarily part of their culture, the area that they're in. Now, to be fair, again, I do understand it can be interpreted in multiple ways. I don't think either side is really wrong in this situation because both sides have valid arguments. But, keeping in mind that this game isn't inherently meant for children, but it is put on a platform where they know kids are, and kids are welcome in the game because they say everybody's welcome. And definitely there could have been some different wording used even in these messages. One of the creators says, kink means, quirky, like to be silly, and replacing that word with quirky from the beginning probably would have been a better choice. But at the end of the day, certain people have certain experiences with certain words and maybe don't recognize that it could be perceived a different way. Again, I'm not necessarily trying to be devil's advocate. I'm just trying to have a well-rounded perspective. And, at the end of the day, they did change it. So I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse and be like, oh my god, you're terrible, bad, 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 because it's been changed. And some people say they still can't see the change. Personally, I can see it. It's worded differently now. But regardless, I think it's good they did take the community feedback into consideration because a lot of games don't do that. Now, on the subject of feedback, there was another person who also reached out to me and said that they were promptly blocked by some of the creators or one of the creators of this game because they responded to one of their Twitter posts with a link to the Reddit threads addressing this issue. This person claims that they never had any previous interactions with the creator, so I looked and I couldn't see any other interactions, but you never know. But regardless, I have heard that a lot of people are very quick to get blocked by the developers or just people associated with the game when they give negative criticism. And to be fair, as someone who also, works online and does online content and stuff like that, criticism can be very hurtful and it can be worded incredibly harshly and it can be very difficult to accept. And that's why, personally, I can tell you I read very few of my comments. Typically, I have my fiance go through every single one of my comments, and he'll say, oh yeah, it's done, you can look at it, and then I'll look at it because I just don't have the mental bandwidth to be looking at people calling me names and saying I'm stupid and calling me dumb and whatever, right? And so he goes through and he'll remove comments where the comments like, you're stupid, ugly, like your videos suck. Because that's not criticism, that's just being mean. Or somebody words something really nastily like, this video is so terrible, you need to figure it out because you don't know what you're doing. Like, take that down. Why are you being a bully? But if, like, example, there's one comment that I saw, and it was this person saying, hey, you know, I wish you'd make some more positive content. And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's do some positive content. And so then I started making some positive videos as well to kind of do a mix of both. And, you know, I think some criticism can be very valuable, and it allows you to see a perspective that you otherwise would have maybe just not realized. And I can understand that why, for mental health reasons, you might want to block somebody. But from what this person's saying, what I could see, it seemed like this was somewhat unprovoked, and obviously people just, I guess, don't want to deal with this. And to be fair, people have the choice of who they want to block. It's up to them, right? I'm not really going to sit here and be like, should they block them, should they not? At the end of the day, criticism is hard to take. It can be very challenging, especially if there's like people just like dogging on you constantly because you have a large game. And that's something I've noticed. As soon as my videos started getting more views, the harassment from people on random platforms has been insane. It's like, I'll be like trying to like find content for a video and I accidentally scroll on a tweet about me. I'm like, jump scare. It's like, it's scary when I see my VTuber. I get really scared. But anyways, on the same topic, they sent a couple more screenshots and then went on to say that there is some content that they feel like may have been the reason or just played into why, you know, the game was being flagged for content. And this is one of the screenshots that they showed me, and I think this might be from the trailer or maybe it's a concept art. I'm not quite sure where this came from. But regardless, it looks like it's a vampire queen. She looks amazing, beautiful. You know, and this has nothing to do with the quality of the modeling or the character itself or the body type, okay? At the end of the day, they've obviously put a lot of effort into this game, and I think this is a very nice looking character and it's very well put together. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and it's shared with this person, which I do agree with them, I think the chest area especially is very pronounced. And, you know, obviously it's a typical body part. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, you can't show that. How dare you do that? But, you know, when it's a kid's game and you have inherently like a larger chest and you have a very, very low cut top, I do think it's unfair that people will automatically sexualize that more than someone who has a smaller chest and a very low cut top. I think that's unfair. And so I don't necessarily feel like the larger chest really has that much to do with it. But I think it's more so the low cut top and just how low it looks on this character. It could just be the angle, I don't know. But it does, in my opinion, seem a little bit risque for Roblox. And sure, there's a lot of content on Roblox that is risque. And that's why I'm kind of like, okay, if you're going to take the game down for certain content, example, stuff like this, which we don't know for sure if it's because of this, but it's just an example this person sent me, which I do think is maybe erring on the side of Roblox moderation may put the ban hammer on this with no reason. But if you allow literally swimsuits, which people will label literal Roblox lingerie as swimsuit, and it's like a string. Okay, I don't need to see your robocy, babe. Get out of my face, get out of my face, okay? And I feel like there's just like this weird favoritism on Roblox's part where certain creators, example, games that have a ton of players or people who have a ton of sales, they'll almost favorite them more than other players. And because this game is newer, right, and obviously these people are experienced developers, they have a lot of talent, right, but because they're a newer game on Roblox, I feel like Roblox is almost being harsher on them. And you know, I also feel like, which I've seen people on Twitter and stuff saying, oh, I'm going to report this game because I don't like the creators or I don't like these people. And I think some of that is racially motivated because the team has been open that they are, you know, people of color. And I think that's really disgusting to hate on a game or to report a game because of the creator's background. Like, what are you doing? It's like, it's very bizarre to me. And I think because this is, you know, a group of women and, you know, other individuals who are working to create a game, and, you know, they're already a visible minority and they're working to create this game that's trying to incorporate various body types and, you know, encourage people to be themselves. I think people to some degree are trying to nitpick every little tiny thing to report or to get upset with, and that could be the case with any game, but I feel, at least from what I've seen, it seems especially aggressive with this particular game. Maybe that's just something that only I noticed, I don't know. And there are things that I mentioned in this video, such as the wording and the initial message that was a little bit, but they've changed that. Should have been there in the first place? Probably not, but, you know, they got feedback, they're like, yeah, you know what, we'll take it out. And I think that's respectable. And, you know, do I think an avatar like this should probably be allowed? Yeah, I think it's a little bit PG-13 with the low cut top. It's a beautiful model again though. But I know if I was playing Roblox and my mom saw this on my screen when I was like 12, she'd probably been like, get off that iPad. She probably would have gotten mad at me because literally there'd be like one gun go off in like a movie and she'd be like, oh, turn that off. My mom was kind of strict like that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think there's kind of like a duality to this where there's people who obviously are older and want to enjoy the game, and so it's important that there's representation for everybody's body type. And at the same time, there's Roblox who says they're a dating platform kind of, but then doesn't allow basic female anatomy. And then there's people who are complaining with the game and trying to like bring the game down, and there's people who have, you know, actual like fair judgments and like fair criticism to give to the game, like the stuff I mentioned in this video that I think was fair. It's a lot of stuff, and to be fair, I can imagine it's a lot of stress on the creators, so I can understand maybe that's why they're quick to just block people, because like, you don't need that toxicity in your life. And personally, if people are being toxic to me, I'm just having my fiance block them. Like, goodbye, blocked, get out of here. But regardless, this is obviously a very tricky situation. Personally, in my opinion, if you're going to allow literal Roblox to be sold to kids, I think you can allow a low-cut top. This is a little bit, again, I would say on the more 13 plus side, I guess, of it. Like, I wouldn't have been allowed to play a game like this, but I guess that it just depends on like the house you're in and what like your family thinks and stuff like that, and also just the personal boundaries you have with games. But I also don't think there's inherently anything wrong with this. I think it's a typical female body. God forbid women have reproductive organs, like, I don't know. But anyways, there's definitely a lot of discussion going on about this right now, and I think some of the criticism isn't warranted and some of it is warranted, and I'm just hopeful that the game will be able to appeal this and, you know, still have inclusivity in their game, maybe taking out some assets like this that are really low cut to make the game more accommodating to Roblox moderation, maybe, I don't know. But regardless, I think it's important that women have representation, and feminine and masculine presented people have representation. They're able to, you know, create themselves in a game the way they see themselves in real life, and I think it's unfair for Roblox to play favoritism and allow certain large developers to have really weird stuff, like that one Teddy guy who like wasn't banned for forever, and to have really weird stuff and sell weird stuff and sell inappropriate things, and then to have a game that isn't even released yet get moderated. Hello? But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and let's keep our fingers crossed that the game gets unbanned soon, because I was looking forward to hopefully trying it this weekend. I don't know, we'll have to see. Hopefully it gets released. But anyways, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.